Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It's your girl Fee on YouTube, and I just came to do my thing, and I'm back with another one because I came to do my thing. You know what I'm saying? We coming back to back with them today, baby. I got a lot on my mind today, baby. So I'm gonna pose a question to you guys. Has the boxing world been fair to Eddie Hearn? Now, let's take it back to around what was it, like 2018 or something like that, when he really, you know what I'm saying, was starting to rub people the wrong way. It started with Anthony Joshua and the way that they handled Deontay Wilder. You know, with Anthony Joshua, I think, say he wanted a certain amount of money, and Deontay Wilder said that he can supply it, and they went on to send a contract over, offer Anthony Joshua that amount of money for, and I'm paraphrasing, to fight Deontay Wilder. And Eddie Hearn just completely, obliterated the contract and disrespected Deontay Wilder, and so did Anthony Joshua. And it rubbed the boxing community over here in America, preferably the United Negroes of Boxing America on YouTube, the wrong way, And from then on, the hate train for Eddie Hearn was loaded up on. And, from then on, Eddie Hearn could do no right. Okay. But that's where it started. So once Anthony Joshua lost, Eddie Hearn began to soften up a little bit and try to load fighters up on his Matchroom, promotional company. And everybody, all the big heavyweights he was trying to go after. When I say heavyweights, not literal heavyweights in boxing, but like heavyweights as far as in popularity in the sport. He tried to get the Jamals and the Jamel Charlos. He tried to get the Tank Davises. He was trying to, get all of the top guys over here. And I think he was only able to get Boo Boo Andrade. He had got Canelo and a few other people. Tevin Farmer. That's all I can think of right now. But he couldn't get the heavyweight dude. Number one, because he had to rub them the wrong way. And number two, a lot of these guys were still, loyal to their promotional companies and the likes of the PBC and, all that type stuff, right? So, by then, basically, is what I'm saying, it was too late. Nobody didn't really want nothing to do with him. He just had to rub, a lot of people in the sport the wrong way, right? So as time went on, he did end up getting a good amount of fighters, a plethora of fighters, and kind of built a name for itself. And a lot of the hate for him kind of died out because he began to make a lot of good fights with, Devin Haney and some other ones too. I can't think of all of them right now. But the hate for him died down, right? But now, I think that he's getting tired of the sport because it came out that he was secretly trying to sell Matchroom for like a pretty penny. I think he was trying to sell it to the dude who owns the MMA or whatever. I can't think his guy. Dana White. Excuse me. He was trying to sell Matchroom to Dana White for a pretty penny. And I think that deal fell through a sudden. But now, he had a good relationship with Turki Al-Sheikh. And when Turki Al-Sheikh came on board with Eddie Hearn to make a lot of fights through Matchroom Boxing and, on DAZN, that helped Eddie Hearn kind of get a good reputation because they was making the fights, right? But once again, some fighters have left him, including Conor Benn, and Conor Benn has went over to the side of Turki Al-Sheikh. And I think that really hurt Eddie Hearn's feelings. He said some things, and then Turki Al-Sheikh responded and was like, I'm your daddy, basically, come lay your head on the chest of your father. This is like a real disrespectful type of thing he said to another grown man who already has a father on top of that. And Eddie Hearn has said that he loves Turkey Al-Sheikh. If Turkey Al-Sheikh asked him to get down and polish his shoes, he said he probably would, and I believe him. And now that zooming in and looking at Eddie Hearn's career in the sport of boxing as a whole, and over the past almost 10 years, I just see that, I don't know, a lot of us might have been a little bit too hard on him, it's just like, was he that bad? He was only trying to succeed. He was only trying to protect his fighters. You know what I'm saying? And he got a bad reputation because of that, and a lot of times, looking back now, I realized that Eddie Hearn was just basically just keeping it real and being honest on how he felt about a lot of things concerning the sport. You know what I'm saying? And he got a bad reputation for that. And at this point, with him being crossed, disrespected, underappreciated, and then when he tried to make things right, he was bashed for it. And then when it did look like he was on the up and coming, all of a sudden, the person he was working with stealing his fighters. And, it's just like, no wonder he's trying to sell Matchroom, because I feel like he's frustrated with the sport and he just wants to retire now, and get out while he can with as much of his mental intact and emotional, strength intact as possible, If I'm Eddie Hearn, I definitely would go ahead and retire out of the sport and leave the sport of boxing, because the sport of boxing doesn't appreciate Eddie Hearn and doesn't like him. And they won't understand Eddie Hearn if you run across this. And I done wore you out before. I wore Eddie Hearn out before because he used to say some belligerent things, right, that I didn't like. But now looking back, I understand it was in defense of his fighters, and he did what he had to do to draw attention to himself and to get him to where he is now in the sport. And I can appreciate somebody like that now, looking back. One thing, y'all know about me, I don't mind going back and reanalyzing and realizing where I was off, where I was wrong, where I need to make apologies, whatever. So I want to say, if I haven't said it before, that I now appreciate Eddie Hearn and what he did for the sport, in the past 10 years. It might be longer, but that's how long it was, when really things just started amping up. And, if I'm Eddie Hearn, I'm retiring. I'm going to go ahead and call it. Eddie Hearn, sell Matchroom. These people don't appreciate you. They don't respect you. And I'm going to tell you, like I told Terrence Bud Crawford, go ahead and retire and make people understand what you really meant to the sport and what you made happen for the sport. I don't think boxing, will be able to get a lot of fights made as easy as they were before without Eddie. I ain't going to hold you. He was like the in-between guy for Turkey Al-Sheikh. And, the UK fighters and the American fighters. He really was the actual glue. He was the eyeball. Turkey Al-Sheikh came on board in the latter years to be the billfold. You know what I'm saying? And, just the disrespect that he's suffering right now from Turkey Al-Sheikh and just a lot of guys right now. If I'm Eddie, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm retiring. I'm go ahead and sell it to Dana White. If he don't want it, somebody will take Matchroom. He still has some guys over there. Retire. Just hold on to Daz and work with Daz behind the scenes as far as keeping that company alive. But go ahead and sell Matchroom for sure. And rest your nerves, rest your soul and everything, because you're not appreciated. And I'm a person, I believe in when people don't appreciate you and you feel like you've, hit that point, it's time to move on. It's time to show people what they think they want to see, So yeah. Y'all comment below. Let me know what y'all think about this. Do y'all feel like, the boxing industry has been looking back at over it as a whole, that the boxing industry in America especially has been too hard on Eddie Hearn? And what do y'all think about Turkey Al-Sheikh disrespecting him? Like, I don't know where this really comes from, but what do y'all think about all of this? And do y'all agree with me that he should go ahead and cut his losses and retire, due to the fact he's never been respected? And I see where it's probably starting to bother him now, especially because he tried to secretly sell Matchroom, and y'all know he loves Matchroom. So yeah, comment below, let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Peace.